The cafe smelled of fresh coffee, warm pastries, and quiet hope. Amelia wiped her hands on her apron as she balanced a tray with practiced grace. Working double shifts as a waitress wasn't the life she had dreamed of, but it paid the rent and kept her head above water. Her world was simple: customers, bills, and exhaustion. She didn't have time for dreams, let alone distractions. That was until a little girl with bright hazel eyes and curly brown hair tugged at her apron strings one Thursday afternoon. "Excuse me," the tiny voice said, as fragile as glass yet bold enough to capture Amelia's full attention. She turned, kneeling down to meet the child's gaze. "Yes, sweetheart? Did you want more water or a cookie?" The girl shook her head, eyes shining with a longing far too heavy for someone so young. "Can you be my mommy?" she whispered, her words trembling like a secret. Amelia froze, her tray nearly slipping from her hands. Around her, the clinking of cups and chatter of customers faded into silence. A motherless plea cut through the noise and went straight to her heart. Before she could respond, a deep voice thundered from the corner booth. "Lila!" The man who stood was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a tailored navy suit that screamed power and wealth. His sharp jawline and piercing gray eyes belonged on a magazine cover, not in a small-town cafe. But those same eyes softened the moment they met the little girl's guilty face. "Daddy," the girl mumbled, clutching Amelia's apron as if it were her lifeline. The man's steps were firm as he approached, but when he reached them, his composure faltered. He looked at Amelia for the first time and froze. For a man who had negotiated billion-dollar deals and commanded boardrooms without blinking, the sight of his daughter clinging to a waitress, asking her to be her mother, rendered him speechless. I'm so sorry," he stammered, voice low and unsure. "Lila doesn't usually." But Amelia wasn't looking at him. Her attention was still on the child, whose innocence pierced through every defense she had built. She brushed a strand of hair from Lila's cheek and whispered, "Sweetheart, I can't just become your mommy like that. But I can be your friend." The little girl's face lit up, though her eyes still carried shadows of loneliness. "Promise?" "Promise," Amelia said softly, squeezing her hand. The man cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "Thank you," he muttered, his usual commanding tone nowhere to be found. "I'm Ethan Carter. And this is my daughter, Lila." Amelia nodded, suddenly aware of the piercing weight of his gaze. "I'm Amelia," she replied, standing tall though her heart raced. For a moment, the three stood in silence, bound by a question that had slipped from a child's lips but cracked open something far greater. Ethan, the untouchable CEO, found himself shaken. Amelia, the ordinary waitress, discovered her world colliding with one of wealth and power. And little Lila, in her innocence, had set something in motion none of them were ready for. The days that followed blurred into a strange rhythm. Ethan and Lila returned to the cafe more often than Amelia thought coincidence could explain. Lila always insisted on sitting in her section, her small arms waving whenever Amelia appeared with a tray. "Miss Amelia." Lila would cheer, her smile bright enough to make even the busiest shifts feel lighter. Ethan remained quieter, watchful. He observed the way Amelia knelt to listen to his daughter, how her laughter filled the air, how kindness seemed to pour naturally from her. It unsettled him. He had built walls around his heart, burying grief under work and fortune. His wife, Lila's mother, had died years ago, and since then, he had sworn off love. Love was unpredictable. Love was weakness. Or so he thought. One evening, as the cafe emptied, Ethan lingered while Lila colored at the table. Amelia approached, brushing a stray hair from her tired face. "You know," she said gently, "your daughter, she's lonely. She misses something she doesn't even know how to name." Ethan's throat tightened. "I've given her everything money can buy. The best school, the best toys, the best life." Amelia shook her head. "Children don't remember toys, Mr. Carter. They remember love. They remember presents." The words struck him harder than any business rival ever had. He had always thought providing was enough. But watching Lila's eyes light up only when Amelia was near told him otherwise. Over the next weeks, Ethan found himself drawn back not just for Lila, but for Amelia. She had a fire he hadn't seen in years, a stubborn resilience that reminded him of the woman he used to be before tragedy hardened him. She challenged him, grounded him, and unknowingly softened him. But Amelia was cautious. She knew what men like Ethan represented, worlds too far from her own, filled with glittering promises that often left people like her shattered. Yet when Lila slipped her hand into hers and whispered, "Please don't go. I need you," Amelia felt her resolve crumble. One rainy evening, as thunder rumbled, Lila fell asleep at the cafe with her tiny head resting on Amelia's lap. Ethan watched quietly, his heart unraveling. He finally broke the silence. "She's never looked at anyone like that before," he admitted, his voice raw. "Not even me. You've given her something I couldn't." Amelia glanced down at the sleeping child, then back at him. "Love isn't complicated, Ethan. It's being there. And maybe it's what you need too." For the first time, the walls Ethan had built around himself cracked. His eyes glistened with unshed tears as he whispered, "Do you think you could be part of our lives?" Amelia's breath caught. This wasn't just a question, it was the beginning of something terrifying and beautiful. She looked at Lila, then at Ethan, and felt her heart make a choice it had been avoiding. "If you're ready to let someone in, then yes. But not because you're a CEO or because she asked me to. Because I want this too." Ethan reached out, his hand trembling as it met hers. For once, the man who controlled empires had no control over his own heart, and he didn't want it. And so, in the quiet corner of a small-town cafe, a waitress, a CEO, and a little girl began a story none of them expected. A story where love wasn't bought, but found. A story where a child's innocent question built a family.